Okay, the bottom of page 20, I introduced this last time. I'm going to go a little slower on this part, and we're going to start in with boundaries with children today. But before that, just to wrap up with boundaries in marriage, if you have boundary problems in marriage, I would just get divorced and give up because life is hopeless. Let's pray right now. Heavenly Father, we thank you. I wouldn't do that because there's always hope. I'm telling you, I've seen some junk get better. It does take effort. So the first thing is admit there's a problem. Is there unfair spending, disciplining the children, sex, whatever? Denial doesn't fix the problems, right? Number two, but the first one's a problem for a lot of people. They won't admit it. They just won't admit there's an issue here. But it takes courage just to admit it, even internally, like this isn't working. Two, identify the specific boundary problem. Clarify what aspect is being crossed. That's all. Just clarify what aspect is being crossed. And this is where it comes both internally and then eventually externally to your spouse. Three, and again, here's a sign you're looking for anger, usually anger, frustration, losing yourself. That's the kind of stuff you're looking for to realize, I bet there's a boundary being crossed against me. If my spouse is angry at me a lot, irritated, there might be just an issue, there might be an issue in them, or there's something else going on. Maybe I'm violating their boundaries. They're scared to tell me. But if you're in a marriage where your spouse or yourself is distressed often, irritated often, that's a sign. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to something's going on. Three, take full responsibility for whatever you do, period. If there's anything, you might not do anything. It might be completely the issue of your spouse. But if you at all you do contribute to it, that's all. Just own that, and then you'll do better. Just own that if you can. Own it, own it, own it. Discover the origin of the conflict. I was chatting with someone yesterday, in fact, counseling person, and she lives a different part of the country. Been counselor for a while, and I said, in a relationship issue, and I said, well, as usual, they're not expecting to hear this. And I said, well, why is it okay with you that you have been tolerating that behavior? Versus just blaming the other person. And she goes, oh. I said, why is this type of hot, cold relationship okay with you? But that's the point, is you got to figure out what is it about me? And if you are tolerating what is intolerable, the odds are very high you're doing because of trauma from your past, your woundedness. You're trying to get healthy needs met in an unhealthy way. So as I always say, that's worth exploring. That's just worth exploring. Why have I tolerated this behavior for this long? Why have I put up with this? And then number 5, if possible, get to a therapist, a good friend who knows something that they're talking about. A support groups can be even better, where you're practicing your baby boundaries, baby steps. You ever seen What About Bob? I'm baby stepping, I'm doing the steps. Fantastic movie. And you take baby steps, baby steps. But you can practice that. And then you practice and practice and practice. And then, of course, you eventually, these all not necessarily in the sequence, but all these things happen around the same time if possible. You eventually have to say no to the bad in your marriage. And I'm going to read this slowly because this really matters. First, reinforce that you were committed to the relationship. I'm in this to win it. I'm not bringing up this subject because I don't like you, because I want a divorce. I don't use the D word in our marriage. Why would you even bring up the word? Well, that is a manipulation phrase. Unless, and if and until, you've covered all these healthy steps, then you say that. But if you're saying that you're heated, you're arguing, whatever, that's just manipulation. You're angry, you're upset. So the first thing to do is reinforce, I want this relationship to thrive. I am married. And if you have the slightest bit of character, you meant what you said at your vows on your wedding day. But then you say what the change is going to be in you. It's a change in you. You communicate clearly that you will no longer tolerate the boundary violation. The goal is not to make the other person change, it's how you will be changing. That's all it is. You're not declaring, this is so important, I said this several sessions ago because this is a very common misconception. Yeah, Dr. Pendergrass, you're proud of me, or Pastor, whatever y'all call me. I'll be proud of me. I told them, don't do that anymore. You shouldn't do that. Isn't that a good boundary? Then you became their parent. Oh, no, the goal. So remember, boundary setting isn't fussing at the person. It's just setting a limit. So I will be changing this. Let me say it this way. I will no longer be tolerant of that behavior. That's called a treaty violation going forward. Once again, boundaries are not about punishing another person. It's clarifying what your action is going to be. So this is what I will do differently, not you must change. That's a mature, healthy way to do it. And don't be the parent. Don't be the parent. Now, one more time, a critical parent is telling them what they ought to do, should do, threatening them, letting them know of what will occur if the violation occurs again is not a threat. It's just telling the future. So here's some examples. Before you had good boundaries, you became their parent, you said this: you have to stop drinking. I've told you over and over, this is ruining our family. What kind of man are you? You're wrecking our lives. That's standard. After boundaries, you're going to say it this way: I understand that you have the right to make your own choices about drinking. Right? You're an adult. You can drink yourself. You can literally kill yourself with alcohol. That's your choice. I also have the right to protect myself and our children from the chaos it brings. If you choose, it's your choice to continue drinking, we will choose not to be in the environment. So the next time you get drunk, we're going to go to a friend's house for the night, or my mom and dad's, and we're going to tell them why we're there. I'm deeply angry and hurt by your refusal to make healthy changes, but your drinking is your responsibility. What I allow in my life is mine. That's it. Just give me a heads up. That's what a boundary. That's healthy all day long. I'm not telling you ought not drink. I'm not dogging you. I'm not calling you names. I'm not attacking your character. I'm just saying that's now a treaty violation. If you step in this home and you smell like weed, I'm out. I'm out. Whatever it is. Just give me a heads up. Now that's scary when I tell people in counseling this for the person who's being wounded, because they're going to go, David, that way makes you, if you get, I'm saving some time here, that makes them anxious. Why make you anxious? Because if I can't try to manipulate and control them to stop, it might be the end of the marriage. You're right. You're right. You're right. Because you don't want to be their parent. They might choose weed over you. They might choose alcohol over you. Yeah, they might. It's a real danger. Sure it is. That's what happens in relationships. They might choose porn over you. Yeah, they might. Then you'll know. Before boundaries, you're a pervert for looking at pornography. I'm picking us guys. That's so degrading. Well, not about 20% of females are addicted to pornography too. 25%. You're so gross. You're so degrading. What a sick person. You're so disgusting. After boundaries, sounds like this: I will not share intimacy with someone who chooses to engage in pornography. That's your decision. You're an adult. But I have the right to decide what I will accept in my relationship. I want a partner who is fully present with me, romantically, sexually. I will only be intimate with someone who values that. Now, it's your choice. Just decide which one you want. Your choice. Which one is it? And finally, like Cloud and Townsend, one of them said, divorce is not a boundary in marriage, it's the end of marriage. It's not a boundary. That's the end of marriage. So we don't use that as a boundary marker. That's the end of it. Okay, so I want to make sure before we move on, and we will move on, any question or comments? Do you understand that in any relationship, friendships, the same thing? I love you, friend, but going forward, I will not tolerate you cussing at my children. If you do that, you can do it if you want. I won't be around you anymore. I'm going to limit how much time I expose myself to that because I can't stand that language. Just give me a heads up. So the next time you cuss at my kids, I'm walking out. That's all. It's not a threat. I'm just telling you that's what's going to happen. It's new day. New day. You don't even have to like it. I didn't ask you to like it. Why? Because I don't need anything from you besides compliance. I don't need anything emotionally from you. I don't need you to understand. I don't need you to like my choices. I didn't ask your opinion. This is not a negotiation. I'm not Donald Trump. I'm just telling you where it is. And spouse is the same thing. I'm not asking you to change. I'm telling you this will be the change in me going forward. Just a heads up. When you see me walk out of the room every time you raise your voice, that's why. Every time you cuss, I walk out. Every time I hang up the phone because you cussed at me, that's why. Just give me a heads up. I will no longer tolerate that. I'm hanging up the second you cuss at me. Okay, any questions, comments? And then they're going to be childish and they're going to throw a fit. That's what happens with immature people. They're little babies. I don't like it. You don't have to like it, I understand. Yeah.
I love that. That's what I said I was going to do.
That's right. I love that. So in the moment, it takes the pressure off of trying to make a decision in the moment. You've already made the decision. You can still feel fear of their immature response. You have your own woundedness. But if you've been to therapists and friends and support group, you've built up enough internal character to go, I can tolerate their immature response. Tolerate, I don't have to like it, but I can process and go, yeah, they're going to throw a pitch of fit, but my decision's already made. I like the word, I made up my mind. In the South, we say all the time, I made up my mind. I came into this knowing, all right, I love that. I don't have to have the willpower in the moment when they use all their manipulative tools or threats, calling me names, the D word. Well, I've already decided. But that decision can be a big deal if they know for a fact. I've had, particularly, tends to be females on my couch without their husbands typically, which is sad and pathetic to me. It tends to be that way. Pathetic, anyway. I'm not always very proud of us men. They can be very scared. David, I'm telling you, if I set that boundary with that person, it will be the domino effect leading to divorce. And I understand that's a process that's worth grieving about. It is. But if they can get that decision ahead of time and get the strength and realize this is healthy, you're worth it, yeah, it's easier to make. I agree. Sorry, I'm just piggybacking on that. Thank you for that. Any other questions, comments about this? Bonnie, yeah.
If you did.
Yeah, good question. So if you say these things and they do change, and then you renegotiate, maybe you might try to open up more bondedness, you get closer. They do it again, you back up. How much you go back and forth? Again, that's up to you, how much you do it. I would think that would probably depend on the nature of the thing itself. So for example, if a person, so the normal thing is this, okay, I'll stop. They beat themselves. They'll cry and weep. I'm so horrible, I'm bad. The shame hits. Maybe even genuine remorse comes out and they dig down deep. I'll never touch it again. But they do not get anything I said a few weeks ago on addiction, particularly, which is they don't get structure, support, accountability. They don't go to AA, they don't go to whatever. They're going to fail most of the time, statistically. So if someone says, if I say, well, my husband, I'll just pick on husbands. Well, he said he's going to stop. I'll say, that's so sweet. I'll say, good for him. Did he stop? Well, so far. I'll say, what structure has he put into place? What does that mean? What new habits does he have in place to help that person say no to that desire? And if they go, I don't think of any of them. Well, then they're probably going to fail again. But in the meantime, you can be as close as you want, which is a good thing because your husband realizes this is, do you still hear a little bit of echoey? Yeah, we do at the front. Not too bad, but I hear a little bit of it. So people who are, you can get close. And that's a sweet thing. So when the spousal, when they've made good changes in a healthy way, and they've really tried, I'm making fun of like the guys like, a guy or girl, they've tried hard. Well, then when we're back to bonded, it feels really good. Then the question, however, is how long is it going to last? Probably won't last that long. Probably won't. If that's true, as soon as it happens, you just reinforce your boundary again. You're like, nope, I said next time we do that, we're done. Now, let's say you gave them a boundary that says, this is the last time I will ever tolerate it. Well, then you're done. If you say, if it's not, that's the last straw, well, then you need to be the last straw. But if it's not the last straw, if it's just I'm letting you know every single time you ever cuss at me, I'm hanging up the phone, you might be hanging up the phone a lot. You might be hanging up the phone the rest of your life if he refuses to stop cussing. But you never stop backing down for your boundaries, ever, 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 because you're worth it, you're valuable, you're lovable. The other thing you'd say, well, David, it's easier to it's easier to rebond if they have gone through structure and they've made long periods of change and they slipped up. But if someone says it and then does it over and over, I'm going to tell them they're not repented. So there's nothing wrong with saying, man, I want to get rebonded, but honestly, I'm hurting. This is now the third time in 2 weeks I've had to leave the house because of this. I'm not tolerating this much longer. I'm not going to do it.
Don't they finally understand that your boundaries aren't really boundaries?
Don't they understand your boundaries aren't boundaries? Yeah, if you do not enforce, correct. No, going back and forth is not the same, in my opinion, is not the same as, so for example, back to my analogy to say, a person says, I get drunk, I'm leaving with the kids, we're staying at a friend's house. You might be with a friend's house 3 times a week. But then, so that's still a boundary. But they're not going, it doesn't matter what I do. No, I lose her. The next step is, which I would, if I were on that show, I would say, now after, in my opinion, I wouldn't do it often. I don't know what my magic number would be. It wouldn't take me long before I go, this is enough. if you're not going to AA 4 times a week starting tomorrow, and you're getting a therapist tomorrow and blah, blah, you have chosen this over me, which means it's the end of our marriage. And then on my own, I'd be very sad, upset, grieving, angry. I'd frustrate all the feelings out. But in the moment, I'm saying, I'm just giving you a heads up, it's the end of the marriage. You've clearly chosen. Then that's why a boundary, especially when it comes to substance abuse, words are irrelevant. What matters is their behavior. And if they're not getting the structure and accountability and support, they're not going to, statistically speaking, the vast majority will not stand up to it. But again, that's why to me it's always a gradation. Step one is to dialogue. Maybe it's like, we need to go to counseling. We do. The marriage, I don't think, will last. We need counseling together. We need to work on our communication, I will own everything. You just step by step. You don't go, here's my boundary, let's get divorced. Like you've skipped over, in my opinion, as a Christian, you've skipped over all the necessary things. Now, there are situations in which it's so extreme, I've told people, you don't need all the steps. I won't tell you the one, it was horrible. I even brought up the options. As you told me more what he did, I go, yep, I'm with you. This is an egregious, it's over. The marriage has been over for a long time. And he was egregious. So in general, though, however, step, step, step. And you're just boundary. Right, doesn't have to be drug or drinking, it can be infidelity. Yes, anything at all that violates your boundaries. Your core non-negotiables. That's right. In the Christian worldview, I think we have about 5 or 6 biblical grounds for divorce. Those would be non-negotiables. But that's for divorce. Here, we can talk about anything as a boundary. Anything at all, like you think it's so funny to burp at the table. The next time you burp, I'm leaving the table. That's not divorce worthy, but I'm leaving the table. You by yourself. No, come back. No. It's not funny to me. It's gross. I mean, that's a simple thing, but it's my boundary. It's gross to me. So I'm not telling you to stop. You can sit there by yourself and burp all you want. Not with me in the room, though. That's a boundary. I mean, we're not watching a movie with all that language in it. If you put on a movie, I'm leaving the room. I don't want to hear all that nonsense. What you do with your ears and your spiritual diet, that's your choice. Mine is mine, and I won't be exposed myself to that. I'm not doing it. I'm not watching those movies. You can turn that rap music, whatever that music on the lamp, I'm not doing it. That's not divorce worthy, but it's a boundary. We can go on forever. When you have dirty clothes all over the floor, I'm not doing your dirty clothes anymore. I'm not doing it. If you can't put it from there to the basket, it's over. I was already treating you. It's your laundry. It's your responsibility anyway. But I'm just letting you know, going forward, I'm not touching anything at all. As a treat, I'll still do it, but only if it's in that basket. Anything else on the ground is your business. It's not mine. I'm not entering trash anymore. Boundaries. Good. Any questions, comments about that?
How many pairs of clothes you have to have for the whole week?
How many clothes you have to try for the whole week? Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second, about more consequences are good. Any questions more about that, boundaries? Is it clear that I'm saying to you, boundaries are not about changing your spouse, but changing you? Hey, just give me a heads up. Going forward, I won't be doing that anymore. I won't tolerate that anymore. Just heads up. That's all. Just heads up. What's wrong with you? Oh, nothing. How are you doing? What happened? Oh, a lot of things. Any questions? Well, you're just like your mother. Thanks. What's for dinner? It won't work. My mind's already made up. You just don't love me. You want to get divorced. No, that's not what I said, but okay. The balls just go bing, bing. They just fall off. Bing, bing. And they'll walk off. It won't work. If you put a grin on your face and go, how about that? Huh. Okay. How about that? Have a good night. They're going to go run off and tell my son, well, I tell long stories. They go, what did they do? What'd she do? She was, what? I know, I hate mine too. When they're so polite. Shit, I can't smoke weed anymore. She said it real respectfully. I hate her. It's real. It happens. But to get to that point, usually you need to really build up some healing in yourself. That's why these steps matter. To some degree steps. Some degree they can do synonymously. But I encourage people, say no at Taco Bell or French fries. No, I don't want ketchup. Just start practicing. Can I move ahead? Any questions or comments about that? Healthy boundaries with children. Healthy boundaries with children, page 22. Parenting is God ordained. It is a calling, I think, and it's stewardship. Stewardship. We don't use this word stewardship much anymore. In the ancient world, if you had good money and you had slaves and servants, you went on business trips, right? You went on vacations. And you didn't just lock your doors. You couldn't lock doors. So someone had to watch over your house and watch over all your stuff, your livestock, your farms, other servants, your children. Well, they put usually the head servant. The Greek doesn't matter. Being with the head servant, you can translate that at household ruler or steward. That's what it is. So stewardship means the capacity of managing someone else's stuff. It's not mine.
Hired hand?
Ever. A hired hand who has authority over the stuff. It's not mine. We went out of town a long time ago, and some of y'all got years ago, a different state. We had a guy named Paul Porter come over. He house sat for us. I mean, he sat around in our house, ate our food. Okay, he did. Hey, we're going to be gone for a while. We had dogs. He goes, sure, I'll do it. He was single. Like, sure. Well, he was the steward of our house. If someone knocked on the door, is this your house? Nope. Why are you here? Because I'm taking care of their stuff. That's all that is. That's what your children are. Children aren't yours. Christians need to really understand that. They're never yours in the first place. You're nothing but a steward. It is not your identity. It doesn't consume you. It doesn't define you. You brought them into the world, but they're not yours. That's very important to understand. They came out of your womb, but they're not yours. They're God's. They're not property. They're not extensions of yourself. They don't form your identity. They're not your pets to make sure you feel nice and warm and cozy and entertained. Throw toys at them all day long. When that really hits you, it's groundbreaking. It really does. For me, you're like, they're not even mine. Hayden and Joy are not mine. I'm now responsible to make sure that they are taken care of. All I'm doing is this. A parent's sole job is to form their character. That's it. That's your number one job on the planet for your children. That's it. You want to get their character right. Why? Because you're getting them ready for reality in the real world of being an adult. God willing, they make it that long. And they're going to stand before God Almighty and hold themselves accountable to that. That's the whole point of parenting. You're forming their character. That is the whole, not make them happy, make sure they just get their dreams come true in Disney World nonsense. You're getting them ready for the real world of adulting and the real world of being and stand before God Almighty. They're not reflections of you. They're not reflections of your unmet dreams and insecurities. I wanted to be a football player, they've got to be a football. I wanted to be a doctor, they need to be a doctor. I always want to play the piano, they're going to play the piano. I always want to make sure I had kittens, she has kittens. Nonsense. That's common and so unhealthy. They're not yours, they're God's. And your job, your number one, if you had a job description, it would say, form their character, signed God Almighty. Get them ready for reality and to meet me face to face. As stewards, Cloud Townsend had these three divisions. I like this three division. Your job to form character, protector, manager, provider. So these form the inside of a child. What does that mean to be a protector? Of course, it means you give them safe environments. Safe environments, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Not only from dangers outside like abuse, neglect, harmful influences, but also immature impulses within them. You're protecting them from the outside worlds of bullies and murder. You lock the door at night. Don't run in I was driving, Melanie and I were on the road last night from Wisconsin, and these three precious little girls out there in the fields of the farm, they ran straight to the road. You can tell like a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and 2-year-old, and the middle one ran straight to the road, and they were giggling, having straight. I'm going 65 miles an hour. She got to the edge of the road and stopped and turned around. No parents in sight, no adults in sight. Had my tire went out, all three would have died. We were both going, when I hit the brakes, of course, I was watching, praise God, it was sunny, I could see them clearly. They were having a good time. But they're dumb kids. Kids don't know the difference. They don't know whether my tire can blow. I thought they weren't protected. They weren't protected at all, besides me hitting the brakes. The point is, that's what good parents do. They protect from outside, but also inside of the child. The child's own natural proclivity to be a narcissist, entitled. They don't want responsibility. There's a Peter Pan syndrome. They don't want to grow up. They're a Toys R Us kid. Protection involves sheltering and preparing. That's it. You don't rescue them. Discomfort's not danger. Lord, if I could tattoo that on my forehead. Nearly every parent I've ever met think, yes, it is, yes, it is, yes, it is. You've got to, if you rescue them from all this discomfort, then they don't get discernment, they don't get wisdom, they don't get resilience. You're not protecting them from discomfort. You're not protecting them from discomfort. You're protecting them from danger. And discomfort's not danger. You're not protecting them from discomfort. Uncomfortable feelings. That's not dangerous. That's healthy. You're protecting them from the right things. It is dangerous on the outside world. It can be. It can be dangerous on the inside world of massive character flaws like entitlement, narcissism, rage issues. But you have to be clear what you're protecting them from, and discomfort's not one of them. I've counseled many people, 80-year-old people, who are not protected in childhood, and they're still absolutely traumatized from what happened. Time is irrelevant. When you're traumatized as a kid, not protected, it's a big deal. Parents must manage their lives over time, and that changes over time. When they're little bitty early years, I give external structure, I set routines, bedtime, I offer discipline, timeout, spanking, whatever, withholding rewarding privileges and natural consequences all the time. I manage their time for them and their settings. But as they get older, I teach them more. I help them manage their internal world. They can need to self-regulate, make wise decisions, manage their own time, resource, emotions. So I'm showing here my hand, but you can't see it in a podcast. As your hand starts really low, I'm much more controlling. I'm much more involved. I'm a micromanager when they're little. As they mature, my hands, literally and metaphorically, are slowly backing off of what I control and manage for them. Deliberately. It's an inverse relationship. The older you get, the more I'm not your manager. That's healthy. You're not controlling them, I know literally, but shaping the space in which they learn to control themselves as they get older. So I had to start enforcing. I help them know what a boundary is and how they should enforce it on themselves. And I'm going to give some specific tips that on a couple pages from now. I'm going to give real specific tips. But that's the goal. When they're little, very appropriate. Don't eat that. Put the rock down. Don't lick your sister. Don't grab the grasshopper. Don't touch that toilet. I was in the restroom the other day, and I was thinking, we were in a gas station, I started laughing. I remember specifically when Hayden would come in and said, baby, when we go in there, don't touch anything. Don't touch anything. Don't touch it. Now he's 16, son. I'm kidding. He was little. He's 3 and 4. Baby, don't. He'd come in, he'd see the toilet and go, ah, and run and go. He's like, you want to touch stuff on the ground? And that face, Jennifer. That's where I go, no, baby. So I'd preface each time we're going there, I just need to stand. So he'd sit there, be all sweet, looking around, bored. Like, don't touch. I'm being overwhelmingly a micromanager because he's little. I know the real danger of the junk everywhere. But if he is 16, that's weird. By then, I should have trained him. First off, get out of my stall. What are you doing here? It's weird. Shut the door, son. Here, Dad, I'll sit in your lap. No. But many of you parents have never stopped. You're still telling them, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch. And that's weird. It's unhealthy. It's crippled the child. If they need you that badly at 16, you've got some change to do. You're the provider. Basic necessities, food, shelter, clothing. But of course, emotional things, spiritual instruction, training the children in which they should go. You model faithfulness as a Christian. And of course, you're giving them independence and responsibility slowly but surely. A good provider doesn't just give resources, but trains children to handle resources wisely. So the goal is for the child to become less dependent on the parent and more dependent on God. They can provide it for themselves as they grow up. I know I can wake up when I need to. I can set an alarm, wake up when I need to, and go to school. I'm providing for my own. I know how to do my laundry eventually. I know how to drive my car eventually. I know. So I can provide for my own needs, and I can also depend upon God to provide. I will make sure I use wisdom, and I'll pray, and that's what happens over time. At first, they cannot do it. They can't go to work. They can't get their own food. Fine. But as soon as they can, I'm thirsty. Good. Go get you a drink. I'm 2. No, that's different. But if you're 6, you're 7, there's the cups. There's the stair stool. Get your own. There's the water. You know where it is. You can do it. Notice how making children happy, being their best friend, doesn't appear anywhere. It doesn't matter. Those are results sometimes of good parenting, right? If they're happy, if they're your friend, but it's never the aim. Never, ever the aim. If your child says, I'm really happy, you go, wonderful, great. I guess that's great. I mean, it's good. Depends what you're happy about. I made the largest crack deal of my life. I'm so happy. I'm so proud of you as long as you're happy. That's ridiculous. The question is, why are you so happy? But if it's ever a healthy reason, I'm proud. I'm so happy. I worked hard, studied hard, got a good grade. Way to go. That's not the goal of parenting, but I'm glad you feel that way. When your child grows up and you take on more of the role of advisor or consultant, you can be more like a friend. We have things in common. My son Hayden is 20 years old. We have a lot of things in common. He's my son. And so I can talk about movies and music and technical nerd crap, all the time. And that's more like a friend, but he's gotten older. We can talk about, hey, did you see so-and-so come out, new movie trailer? We can talk. It's cool. He's not my BFF. He's never going to be a BFF, but he takes on more of the role of that. I'm also still his dad and consultant. That's normal, but that's not the goal of parenting. I wasn't raising a future friend. I've got to make sure he likes what I like so I can really have a buddy when he gets older, because I'm so lonely. Don't you leave Daddy. That's a lot of parents really deep down, that's what they think. That's not the goal. The question always is, does this develop their character? Does it develop their character? Does it develop their character? If the answer is yes, you're on track. If the answer is no, you might not be on track. So I like these 3 major ways of thinking about it. I'm a protector, I'm a manager, and provider. And all 3 slowly change over time if you're doing it well. Any questions or comments about that? What your role is? Anybody at all? If you want a handout, there's some back there on the table.
Yeah, I didn't know what, no, we have it. I'll get it in a minute.
Thank you.
I didn't know there was a new one.
Yes. Any questions or comments about that?
Is it ever too late to start doing these?
Good. Is it ever too late to start? It is never, never, never too late to start. What I would do, now, it's too late to start what you missed the years before. Obviously, we can't time travel. But what I encourage parents to do is whenever, especially, well, this is any of this stuff, we always like, boy, I blew that, because none of us are flawless people. When it comes to children, what I do is I like to first realize what it is we've messed up, what we've blown. Be clear about that, have clarity, and then tell the child exactly what I blew. I should not have blank, 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 and blank, and blank, and blank. Here's a list. Or it's just one thing. And they're going to say either like, it's okay, no big deal, and that's fine. They can say, you're not going there for validation, ever. And if you are, you're not ready to tell the child. But if no, I'm confessing this. Now I realize this was not healthy. I did not know better, or I did know better, and I still did anyway. Whatever it is, you're still just owning it. And you're apologizing, and then you're going to say, now going forward, here's where I will be. Does that make sense? That's like a normal relationship. Let them see that you're going to heads up, right?
And when you fight a ex-spouse that doesn't want to be proper, wants to be the friend.
Yeah, so if you have an ex-spouse who wants to be a friend and wants to be this, yeah, can't control that at all. And as you know, in my view is when you have, a split home like that for the child, who can be very confusing, I would always want to be the parent who is the safe, consistent, healthy parent. So when you're in my presence, my job description is still the same, which is I'm forming your character. And your role he might screw up everything I work on. That's between him and God and you. But in my presence, my job description has never been changed. Ever been changed. And so I'm going to be a safe place for you. I can't imagine for you how difficult it is to go from house to house. The rules might be, I get it, my goodness. But I love you too much to be unhealthy. I love you too much to be dysfunctional. And I'm working on me as fast as I can to make sure I'm as healthy as I can for you. We just own that. What a great model that is for our kids. Woo, that's fantastic. So there's a lot of growth in that, just owning that. Good, thank you, good. Yeah, don't you wait on ex-spouses. You did, I'm saying, Anything else about that? Bottom of page 22, children aren't born with boundaries. They're born with needs and desires, but they don't know where they end and someone else begins. And they start with what we call egocentrism. They do assume the world exists for them. They just assume the world's just about them. They just do. Now in Christianity, we think that they're born with this fallen nature. That is, there's something off about us. So boundaries are not natural. They must be learned. I like how Proverbs, that's why a child left to themselves, quote, brings shame to their mother. A child's initial instinct is to control their external world. This is very important. They want to control their external world to get what they want. That's why they cry, they manipulate, they throw tantrums. If I can get you to change you to make me feel better, I'll feel better because they don't have internal self-control. Some of you have friends or spouses like that right now. You might be like that. That's the definition of immaturity. That's what narcissists are. That's what psycho and sociopaths are, in my opinion. That's what egocentric, immature people. Their whole view is that if I change you, I'll change you so I feel better on the inside. That's what rescuers do. But it's through consistent, loving external boundaries set by caretakers, they begin to internalize feelings, choices, responsibilities. That's mine. And then what's not mine? Your emotions, problems, and reactions. They have to be taught it. They have to. Now, we parents increase their egocentrism when we do healthy things like, wah, 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 here's a bottle. They learn, when I start pitching a fit, I get milk. When I pitch a fit, my diaper gets changed. It works. Every time I want something, they come running. When they don't get that, like in orphanages or a negligent home, addict parents or whatever, they don't learn that. They go through infant depression. They learn that it doesn't matter what I think I need because no one's going to come help me. So we don't want that. That's neglect. It's just that we do come to their, but it's part of the problem is we're training them to be egocentric by meeting their needs. But as soon as possible, we just, this little appropriate dance where our hands come off. No, baby, no. Just because you throw a fit. Now, as soon as you can talk, tell me what your needs are, and I'll decide whether I get them or not. And if it's healthy and forming your character, I'll do it. Otherwise, no. But I want that toy. Ah! I know you do. Had a woman, she said, when the little girl came in, she pitched a fit. She said, no, she fell on the ground, was kicking her feet, just like a dead roach, just kicking her feet, throwing a fit. She looked down and walked to the kitchen. The girl walked around to the kitchen, fell on the ground, did it again. She was 12. It was weird. No, she wasn't. She was a little. She was 2 or 3. Now she's probably 19, 20. I think she just got married, in fact. But when I see her, I still remember that story. Now her dad's super tall. She's like 6 foot tall. I'm picturing you, little girl. Wah, wah. But that was perfect parenting right there. You just look at them and go. But they're taught that. They came out, we taught them, but then we have to disabuse them. So top page 23, parents therefore must have boundaries to instill boundaries. They don't have them. It's like children they need $1 million. They do not have it. They came to this world without $1 million, but you're supposed to have $1 million. You're supposed to give it to them. That's what boundaries are. Having boundaries is good and necessary. I love it. A being without limits is called God. You're not raising little gods. Give me a break. Every creature, children, parents must learn. Everything has that. We've already talked about this 1,000 times, but limits aren't punishment. They're just God's created order. Adam and Eve had a boundary. Don't eat that daggum tree from that tree. It's a boundary. They're not signs of unkindness. They help you grow up. Right? It's good to have them. Letter B, children must learn boundaries from parents who have boundaries. And you teach what you don't have. I mean, you don't have them. The kids are confused. They don't know what's okay. They don't know what's not okay. They don't know what's theirs, what's not theirs. They just don't know. And one way we teach children boundaries is we talk about them. We say, that's not your responsibility. You're allowed to say no. You can be upset, but you cannot hit. Respect your sister's no. We said that from our children at an early age. We have video of Julia fussing at the cats. And she said, no, Ariel, respect princesses, no. That's boundaries. It's just teaching a vocabulary. Hayden, no. Julia said no, respect her no. mean, he's 5, 6 years old. At first, he didn't know what that means, and he realizes what we say and we enforce it over and over. If you do that again, then we're going to have to discipline you. She said no. And we had words like, we have certain ways of saying, like they could say, stop, stop, ha ha, like they're laughing or giggling or tickling, whatever, ha ha. But if they said, please stop, it's over. Like mom and dad stepped in. So if she said, like sometimes she'll say, stop, ha ha, and then she'll do it to him. You know how they do. But if she said, please stop, same thing with him. That's it. If they ever said, I said, please stop, and I would hear it, but even from a distance, did you hear what they said? Respect their no. No, that's not your responsibility, it's hers. No, Hayden, let her do it. It's her job to do this. She said she would do it. I'm teaching that vocabulary. Thank you, baby, but you're not mom and daddy's therapist. Thank you. Thank you. It's sweet to care, but you're not here to rescue me from it. It's okay for mom to be sad. That's healthy and normal. I don't need you to make sure I'm not sad. Thank you for being caring, though, but I need to cry. That's healthy. Healthy, crying is normal. That's your responsibility. Maybe supportive. I don't need your support, but I'm saying my responsibility is my own feelings. And then you model it. You model it. Children internalize life, not lecture. You can talk to your nosebleeds. They're going to watch you and do it. Do what I say, not what I do. Bad parenting. Many boundary violations are passed on unintentionally. Don't talk about that. It teaches you that truth is unsafe. We're going to see your Uncle Bob. Don't talk about his bad breath. Listen, I know she cusses a lot, Aunt so-and-so, but I know, baby, but she's family. Don't say anything about it. I know you can't breathe when they smoke in the room all the time, but don't say, I know you don't like it, you get scared when he's drunk, but that's Uncle Bob, that's your dad, that's Grandpa. Don't talk about it. So truth is unsafe. That's exactly what they learn. And my needs to get away from an unsafe environment, they don't matter. Because, quote, family trumps my feelings. Family trumps my fears. That is a horrible lesson to learn, and most kids learn it. Don't talk about that. That's bad modeling. Come give me a hug. I'm sad. Teaches emotional enmeshment. Your feelings are my job to fix. Man, they confuse the snot out of a kid. I'm going to say this later on too. We do the same thing about God. God sure is sad that you did that. Oh Lord, the God of the universe needs me to rescue him from sadness. I'll never sin again. Ugh. Golly. Anyway, we'll talk about that later too. Or you can model it in a healthy way. No, baby, thank you. Let me pause there. Yeah.
So what do you just tell them that their breath stinks? Let the kids say.
That's right. Good question. Do you just say your breath stinks? So in that exact analogy, what I would do is they could say, tell me, and I would say that is true. Maybe naturally happens. Maybe it's halitosis is a disorder. I don't know. But then I would teach a child. It is true. I would validate it. Yeah, they're right. Uncle Bob's breath does stink. What do you think about that? Or so what? And I go, okay. Now, if I know my child, they're more likely to say, your breath stinks. If I know it's more likely to say, or they've said in the past, then I will say, honey, when you're around them, I know his breath stinks, but when you shout that out, I'm concerned that sounds unkind. It sounds like you're making fun of them. That guy, and Bob doesn't know that or can't control that or whatever. So is that why you're saying that? Help me understand why you shout that out. But, I didn't know he knew that. I mean, kids can just be, they don't know that, right? Sometimes they just don't know. They're not being mean. They didn't know. You go, oh. And I would say that's the case. Well, I'm concerned that would sound unkind. You can tell me, that's fine. I remember I was in a swimming pool one time. I was a little kid, and we had I had a birthday, some party or something. We'll get together. And there's a girl from school came, and she had glasses on. I was 5, 6 years old, so I was young. And we were swimming, and she didn't have her glasses on for the first time I ever saw her, and she was there with her dad. And I said, her eyes were crossed. That's what the glasses were helping at. I didn't know such thing existed. So her glasses are off, and I said, oh, your eyes are crossed. I just blurted out. I said, oh. And I'm thinking, I remember going, I never noticed that. Like, why is that? But as soon as I said it, she made a face. So in the moment, I said, and the dad, and I said, I'm sorry, I didn't realize, I wasn't trying to be unkind, but if a mom and dad had told me, if I'd have said ahead of time, then that would have helped me go, baby, that's right. Sometimes when people can control that, she might be really, really sensitive to that. So let's be cautious. Let's make sure if it matters, if it's healthy, if it's encouraging, then we can tell them. Otherwise, you can just tell me. That's different from that. That's the other person. That's very different from I'm under threat. Uncle Bob touched me. You tell me. We'll tell him, get off me. Very different. And I would train the difference. When their kids were, and it's a horrible conversation. I remember where we were when we had it with Hayden and Julia. If someone ever tried to steal you, they touch you, whatever, I remember, and we told them, I said, that's the one time in your whole life to get them off you. Let them have it. And so we train our daughter. When you hit a man in the genitalia near the penis, it's going to hurt a lot. He can be a big, strong guy. You need to do that to run. And they're like kind of giggling / upset, like sad. And we're like, babe, how do we explain this to a kid? Some people are mentally sick. We walk this. You need to get them off you and run. You tell me. Sometimes I might threaten. I'm going to hurt your mom or dad if you blah, blah. They're lying. You always tell us. We'll always protect you. So those are things where that danger, we want to embolden them to speak up. But some physical description of a person, but again, sometimes they're just kids. So that's what we want to say in such a way. We're not teaching to be scared of people's feelings. We need to be considerate of their feelings. They're not the same thing. They're just, sometimes they're going to blurt things out. You go, okay.
The kids have to feel free to say something.
Kids have to feel free to say something. I would say not everything, some things. They can't be free to scream out, fire! Someone hit me, and then they're lying.
Harming them or doing.
If someone's harming them, if a danger, threat.
Feeling that they can be.
Yes. Yes. Ideally, we raise them in such a way that they feel freedom and safety if someone's threatening them to be able to say it. And a parent, a caretaker will come right along and take them very seriously. Yes, absolutely. And that's what we teach them. If you're in threat, if there's danger, you always, that's my flesh, my skin. You don't have the right to touch my skin. You have the right to yell at me, cuss me. You can tell Uncle Bob, please don't put your hand up. We train him that stuff, sure. And I'll stand up for my child too. Please don't talk. We've said it to family members. Please don't talk the way of my kids. I've said that before. That's protecting them. That's not the same as, your head's big. You're ugly. That's not the same, right? It's very, very different. We've got 10 seconds. We're out of time, but we're going to come back next week and talk about boundaries in parenting, what to look for, and we got some real specific examples. See you next week, I hope. Love you. Next week. Yes? Come back.